So I figured my last ban list prediction video was kind of a mix between prediction and wish list, but this one will strictly be a prediction video based on the most recent events and also marketing purposes for current or future product. But of course, before this video starts, make sure you like and subscribe and also check me out on Twitch and Instagram. And with that being said, let's jump right into it. So because of the fact that we know that Brave Token will be boosting Phantom Knight, I think there is a world in which Artifact Scythe might dodge the ban list and still stay at 3. Whether it's at 1, 2, or 3 doesn't matter as long as it's not banned, just so Konami can milk, I think the set is Grand Creator, so Brave Token sells even more so people can play Brave PK because we already know that this deck will be top tier in the TCG as well, just like it was in the OCG, it was actually dominating before. This leads me to believe that Arch Nemesis Protoss will probably get banned, and I think it will be the only touch for Sword Soul because that also is a kind of newer deck, and with Protoss being banned, you can no longer just blind call the Dark Attribute, which used to completely destroy Phantom Knight. So by banning Protoss, you are not completely killing Sword Soul, but you are at least allowing Brave PK to become infinitely better, which is very good for Konami's wallet. The Lyrillust deck got newer support with, I think, the most recent set that introduced the Bird Call, as well as the Beryl Canary and Celeste Wagtail, so the deck got infinitely better, and I do believe that Recital Starling might completely dodge the balance because a lot of people wanted the card to get hit to 1, but I think what will get hit instead will probably be the Simorgh Link 3. I think this card is really cancerous because not only does it special summon a monster from the deck, which is the best mechanic in Yu-Gi-Oh!, but on top of that, it, alongside all the Winged Beast monsters it points to, cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects. And I think people underestimate this way too much because if it didn't have that, then a lot of your cards like whatever, Forbidden Chalice, Imperm, etc. would be so much better against your opponent's cards, but because of that, you can't really do that. And also, while the Simorgh Link 3 exists, there's almost no incentive to play Flunderies because that deck can play the Apex Avian and Windbear Statue, but you can literally cheat out these cards in literally any deck that can play the Simorgh Link 3. What will happen is that the Simorgh monster will get banned, but nothing for Lyrillust themselves will get hit, so the deck will still be playable, and the newer product won't necessarily be kind of irrelevant. Now, this is quite of a bold prediction, but I do believe that Dragoon will get banned, and the reason why I'm saying that is because DPE is still relatively new, whereas Dragoon is kind of getting way too old. I think it was introduced in 2020, whereas right now we're in 2022, so Konami's not really making that much money off of Dragoon, whereas DPE can still rack up that cash. What happens if Dragoon gets banned is that people will have to will basically be forced to play DPE instead. Now, an interesting hit that I don't think will necessarily happen because I don't know if it will necessarily help or hurt Konami will be getting Imperial Order to be banned. Now, unless Konami is really trying to specifically push Sky Striker with a new quickly spell card, Mobilize Linkage, in which case obviously there will be trying to make old deck good again, then Imperial Order getting banned will definitely be a good way of selling that set and selling that card and selling that deck especially. But if that doesn't happen, then Imperial Order can just stay, you know, as it is, limited, and make a lot of people really unhappy with the game because it is one of the most rage quit inducing cards out there in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's actually ridiculous how many people get frustrated when that card gets flipped against them. And also, there is something else that I want to say. Anti-Spell Fragrance might, and I said might, get banned sometime soon, not necessarily on this ban list, but maybe the next one if Konami is really trying to push the new Pendulum deck, which is I think the Valiance deck. And the last card I want to say in the banned section, but could also be limited, is another card that is seriously a rage quit inducing card, and that is Mystic Mine. A lot of people are seriously angry every time that card gets activated against them, and one good argument why Mystic Mine might get banned is because it wastes too much time on the clock, and it might make events way too long, make you wait like even longer than freaking 40 minutes or something, and because of that, a lot of games might go into time, and if Konami's trying to just completely avoid that, maybe banning Mystic Mine is a good idea. Obviously, I'm not 100% sure if that is the correct way to go about it. Regardless, it is a card that most players hate, so I think if we ban Mystic Mine, it'll make more winners than losers. There is also a world in which Tri-Brigade Fragtail might get limited, not banned. I don't think so. I don't think Konami will ban a single Tri-Brigade card. Maybe the cards around them that they can summon because they're like very, very good. Like, I can't believe you can just cheat out Simorgh Link 3 just like that, just with one single monster. So if Fragtail gets limited, it'll be a substantial change from what we had before. We used to have like 6 starters, 6 immediate starters, 3 Tanky, 3 Fragtail, and now if we drop Fragtail all the way to 1, we go from 6 to 2 starters. So the deck is still playable, quote unquote, but do you really want to play it? I don't know. So maybe that'll give more people incentive to play the newer decks instead. I would also like to say Orchest Harpor could get limited. That is definitely a possibility. A lot of people are vouching for that to happen, and it won't necessarily have like the biggest of impact right now just because there are so many unfair decks out there. And if Protoss dodges the ban list and stays unbanned, Orchest will not see any play at all because I wonder what attribute the Orchest monsters are, and Protoss usually blind calls Dark, unless of course you're in game 2 and 3 and you know what you're playing against. But calling Dark is basically free because Protoss itself is Dark, so that's an attribute that you always have access to. So this is why I believe that Dark attribute decks right now are just way too dangerous to play. And this is why I think Brave PK as well as Orchest are just in a very bad situation as long as we have Protoss. Now, if Konami wants to be one step closer to unbanning every single card in the ban list, or at least as many cards as possible, Blaster Dragon, Ruler of Infernos could be a good one because nobody cares about the card. It's not good. It can come back to 3 and nobody would play it, so that's completely fine by me. For the semi-limits, I'll stick to what I always used to say. So Meltdown and the Dear Servant to 2, that's pretty accurate because the OCG did that as well. And I don't know if Konami really wants to be aggressive to the point where they would limit both of these cards. That is definitely a possibility because Shaddoll Invoke Dogmatica is very, very good. I think everybody can agree with me on that one. But the issue is that that deck is not like unfair broken tier 0. Like, yeah, sure, it has Winda, but apart from that, I mean, it's always the same thing. It's always like normal summon Alistair effect. So you don't necessarily have to ban that completely. You just have to make it a little bit less annoying. And I think that would already solve the majority of the issues that we are having against the deck right now. So just a slight consistency hit should be enough. Again, just a motivation for people to play the newer decks without punishing them too harshly for wanting to play their old decks. As for the Unlimited section, nobody gives 2 shits about this one, but some irrelevant cards like Daedra Nessie, Performa Pascal, Crobat Joker, and Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon can all come back to 3. These cards just aren't relevant at all. Even Nessie is just no longer good. Tsuchinoko is another story though. That one's really good, so that one definitely has to stay at 1. But Nessie being a level 7, just not too great. So I think all these 3 cards can definitely get unbanned. Well, I mean, off of the ban list completely. Even Joker will probably be relevant in the future for pushing Pendulum format. Not really Pendulum formats, but Pendulum product. So that's a good card to have off the ban list ASAP. That's basically all I had to say for this prediction video. I tried my best to not be biased when making this. So this isn't necessarily what I want to happen, even though the majority of these hits, they definitely are things that I would appreciate, but rather things that I think will happen. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and also check me out on Twitch and Instagram. And I'll see you guys very soon.